Good American Family Episode 6 gets an A for an emotional but hopeful episode review. Last week's episode of Good American Family on Hulu was a difficult one to watch, seeing Natalia struggle all alone living by herself now. And even when she tries to make things right, somehow they get worse. Well, that continues in Episode 6 this week. However, there's a bit more hope when we reach the end. Here's our review of the episode. Spoilers below. The last time we saw Natalia, she was having trouble with the day-to-day, including getting the shower on, preparing food, and taking care of herself in general. And now that she's in the new home with so many stairs, something difficult in her condition, things are even worse. Plus, she needs to walk to school, and it's not an easy trek. The most difficult part is the blisters and injuries she gets from walking so much, which causes her feet to bleed. Then there's the fact that she's stopped in a rough part of the neighborhood, but that's when it seems like there's a saving grace. Natalia gets some help from Christina Hendricks. Christina Hendricks' character finally shows up in this episode, and she plays Cynthia Mans. As she's driving by, she spots Natalia and her bleeding feet and offers to help. She clearly has a lighthearted and fun personality, and Hendricks plays her so well. There's obviously something suspicious about Natalia and her situation, so she comes into her home and looks around. It's obvious she needs help, and so spotting the EBT card, offers to take her to the market. Now this is where things start to get a little murky when it comes to Cynthia. She invites Natalia to dinner at her home with her husband and kids and rings up a bunch of food and items. Then she tells Natalia since she's coming over, she can pay for it with her EBT card. This is one red flag. Now, I don't know if Cynthia is trying to take advantage of a vulnerable Natalia or if she sees it more of a win-win situation. Natalia gets food, but so do her other kids. As we learn later, money is tight for the Mans family, and Natalia may actually be their saving grace. When Natalia sees the warm and loving home, it's clear this is what she yearns for. You can see it all on her face. And I once again praise Imogen Reed's acting here. Cynthia takes Natalia to the doctor, and it turns out she gets disability checks too. But right now they're going to Christine and Michael. They get it changed to go to Cynthia. Again, another red flag or truly a way to help. But the doctor's visit confirms that Natalia really is a child based on her x-rays. And the doctor thinks that Cynthia and her husband are taking advantage of Natalia, so she calls in the investigator. And that's how he gets involved in her case in the first place. Finally, it's Halloween and Cynthia answers the number who keeps calling her. I think we all could guess it was going to be Christine. And lo and behold it is. She's warning Cynthia about Natalia and trying to turn her against them. The poor girl clearly has PTSD. Natalia gets out of the car and runs away, and we see flashes of Christine slapping her, which are hard to watch. Then she's told to go walk it off, but without shoes. When she comes back, Natalia takes her socks off and hides the blood on them, and that explains the bloody socks in her closet. So my question now is, did Christine make her walk all the time on purpose to prove she was menstruating and fabricating lies? Eventually, Cynthia finds Natalia, and the two have a really sweet moment where they connect and make a promise to each other. Then, even though Natalia doesn't like baths, she agrees to one, and it's a really nice one between what a mother and daughter should look like. The episode ends on a hopeful note with Natalia smiling at her new family's church, declaring she's ready to testify. Not only at church, but against the Barnetts as well. This was another really strong episode of Good American Family. Episode 6 brought even more devastating emotion, moved the story along, but also ended on a bit of a hopeful note that we needed after all the heaviness of the past 5 episodes. I'll be honest, but the story being told from Natalia's point of view from the sphere of a television series is much more intriguing. And it's being done well. Also Hendricks as Cynthia. So good. She's one of my favorite actresses, so I'm excited she's now a part of the story. What is going to happen next? We'll find out next week. Sometimes a television show manages to hit that rare, bittersweet sweet spot, where the tears fall just as easily as the smiles break across your face. Episode 6 of Good American Family is one of those rare birds. A slow-burning, soul-stirring installment that digs deeper than most dramas dare to. This episode doesn't just deliver emotionally, it delivers catharsis. After 5 episodes that mostly kept things light with only glancing blows of conflict, Episode 6, titled Open Hands, Full Hearts, dares to drop us into the thick of family reckoning. And it's better for it. Every frame of this episode pulses with genuine feeling, never overacted, never melodramatic. Instead, it's the emotional honesty and restraint that earns it its A. At the core of the episode is the long-anticipated confrontation between Claire, played with restrained intensity by Nellie Flores, and her father Richard, Kevin Easton, whose absence during her teenage years has always been a quiet specter haunting her otherwise buttoned-up adult life. Until now, the show only hinted at this father-daughter rift through small exchanges and silent glances. But in Episode 6, it finally explodes, beautifully, painfully, necessarily. The dinner scene that kicks off the emotional unspooling is already being dubbed a series high point, and it's easy to see why. What begins as an innocent, even awkward meal quickly turns raw when Richard offers what seems like a benign story from Claire's childhood, a story she remembers quite differently. The silence after her correction is deafening. There's a beat, then a pause, then Claire's voice, trembling but steady. You don't get to rewrite the story just because it's easier for you to tell. That line, simple but razor-sharp, encapsulates what Good American Family does so well. It recognizes the emotional weight of memory, the pain of omission, and the power of finally speaking your truth. And it does it without grand gestures or melodrama. The scene is quiet, controlled, yet it absolutely floors you. But the real triumph of this episode isn't just the emotional impact, it's the hopefulness that pulses beneath the heartbreak. When Claire eventually walks out of the room after unloading years of resentment and grief, it's not the slam of the door that echoes. It's the way Richard looks after her, eyes wet, filled with something we haven't yet seen from him, regret. That shift, subtle, fragile, but deeply human, is the magic thread running through this entire episode. Elsewhere in the episode, we see other members of the family grappling with their own internal reckonings. Jake, Miles Henson, finally admits to his wife Tara, Rachel Onishi, that he's been feeling overwhelmed not just by fatherhood but by a growing sense that he's failing to live up to the example his own father set. It's a quiet moment between the two in their kitchen, folding laundry and confessing fears. What makes the scene sing is its ordinariness. The way everyday tasks are woven into extraordinary emotional truths. And then there's young Leo, Daniel Shin, whose storyline could have easily fallen into cliché, but instead blossoms into one of the most tender threads of the episode. After getting into a fight at school, Leo finds himself grounded, not just from screens, but from the numbing silence he's been hiding behind. His mom gives him an old sketchbook, and through rough pencil drawings, we start to see what he couldn't say out loud. He's lonely, confused, but curious about the world. It's in those sketches, delicate, childlike, achingly sincere, that the show finds its deepest emotional resonance. Episode 6 also continues to impress with its careful pacing and naturalistic dialogue. Nothing feels forced, even as emotions swell. The show trusts its characters to carry the moment, and the writing supports them with subtlety and nuance. Lines are delivered not as exposition, but as real speech, often layered with subtext. When Claire's mother says, "I try my best to keep things whole," it lands not just as an explanation, but a quiet confession of guilt, love, and uncertainty. What makes this episode stand out in the current television landscape is its commitment to emotional complexity. It refuses to flatten its characters into archetypes. Richard isn't just the absentee father. He's a man fumbling toward redemption. Claire isn't just the hurt daughter. She's someone learning how to draw boundaries without building walls. The show recognizes that healing is messy. That family is complicated. That love doesn't erase pain, but it can offer a bridge.